Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. All right, Bears fans, I'm going to remind you guys this probably every single episode until the podcast finally hits 5,000 subscribers. If you guys follow along on my community page on YouTube, I posted this morning that share this podcast with every single Bears fan that you know. Make sure we can get Keek on the Mic to 5,000 subscribers so I can give out those awesome prizes. Once again, I'm giving away a signed Darnell Mooney jersey and a signed Cole Kmet mini helmet. So you do not want to miss your opportunity to add that to your Bears memorabilia in your man cave or woman cave, whatever you have. You don't want to miss this opportunity to win some awesome prizes here on the podcast. And like always, I appreciate you guys so much for the support of the podcast. So I'm excited for today's episode of Keek on the Mic. And today's episode is going to be giving a lot of credit to new head coach Matt Eberflus. And it's going to be a really good conversational piece for us to discuss today here on the podcast. As a report out of Chicago is this: Matt Eberflus asked Qb-Savy friends about Justin Fields before accepting the Bears job. And obviously, before becoming a head coach, Matt Eberflus had a plan of what he wanted his head coaching experience to look like. He'd been preparing for this opportunity to be a coach for years. I think he was 13 years in the NFL just as a defensive coach. But he learned from mentors like Nick Saban and Gary Pinkel that good coaches must know what to do at every position on his football team. And Matt Eberflus may be a defensive guy, and that was one of the things when we hired Eberflus to be the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. I know a lot of Bears fans, including myself, were a little bit hesitant on Eberflus because he was a defensive guy. We were all looking forward to maybe an offensive guy to get Justin Fields to the next level, but Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears opted to go with Matt Eberflus. But even though Matt Eberflus is a defensive guy, he understood that success in the NFL goes through the quarterback position. This is where this gets kind of interesting. That is why when the Bears expressed interest in Matt Eberflus, he wanted to make sure he knew what he was getting into. And according to Jeff Howe of The Athletic, Matt Eberflus made some phone calls. He'd already done his personal evaluation of Justin Fields the year prior when the Colts considered QBs in the draft. He liked what he saw. He admitted, though, that his expertise was limited on the QB position, rightfully so, because he's a defensive guy. So he reached out to people he trusted. Their responses helped fortify confidence that Chicago was the right job to take. So as Eberflus was preparing to take over as Bears head coach during the offseason, he called his quarterback position coaching friends around the NFL to get their perspective on Justin Fields. Eberflus, who spent his first 13 seasons in the league as a defensive coach, wanted to see if his pre-draft assessment of Fields had been in the line of those his trusted network. So as Eberflus was preparing to take over as Bears head coach during the offseason, he called his quarterback position coaching friends around the NFL to get their perspective on Justin Fields. Eberflus, who spent his first 13 seasons in the league as a defensive coach, wanted to see if his pre-draft assessment of Fields had been in line with those in his trusted network. Everybody said they loved the man. Hard worker, very smart, got a really strong arm, throws a great deep ball, and all those things are true, Eberflus told The Athletic. What they said of the evaluation, it's still true to this day. And obviously, I have to give a lot of credit to Matt Eberflus of what he has done as the Chicago Bears head coach so far. And yes, I know that the Chicago Bears have yet to play a football game, but you can already tell that the culture of the Chicago Bears has already changed, and it's all thanks to Matt Eberflus. And going back to the original report that Matt Eberflus reached out to his trusted network, his quarterback-savvy friends, to make sure the Chicago Bears job was the right job for him to start his head coaching journey. I don't blame him whatsoever. Obviously, he wanted to make sure that he was going into a good situation. Obviously, once he got the basically thumbs up that Justin Fields was the right guy, he went in head first. And obviously, we got to give a lot of credit to what Matt Eberflus has done so far as the Chicago Bears head coach. And obviously, Eberflus is thrilled with what he's seen from Justin Fields so far. Just like I just said in the last part of his statement, what they said of their evaluation, it's still true to this day. And every report out of Hallis Hall confirms it. Fields' work ethic is great. We've talked a lot about that this offseason. He has improved his footwork and fundamentals. The ball is coming out faster, and he's gaining mastery of the new offense. And the best part about all of this is that Matt Eberflus had a plan. I mentioned it earlier in the podcast that before he started his head coaching journey, he had a plan. Obviously, I believe Matt Eberflus had a couple of interviews lined up, right? Which included the Chicago Bears, and he did his homework on each team. And obviously, when you are about to enter a new job, and this happens in real life too, when you're about to enter a new job, you need to do your homework before you actually start that job. You don't want to just go in there and wing it. You want to make sure you have a plan. And in this case, Matt Eberflus had a plan. He did his homework. He studied the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields. He liked what he saw, and obviously, it's paying dividends. And once again, once he reached out to his trusted sources and got the thumbs up on Fields, he knew exactly what he wanted to do to help Fields improve from year 1 to year 2. And one of the things that Matt Eberflus did, it involved bringing in an offensive system that is tailor-made for athletic quarterbacks that can get outside of the pocket. And that was one of my big things. Once again, I mentioned it earlier in the podcast. Obviously, when the Bears hired Matt Eberflus to be the Chicago Bears' next head coach, I was a little hesitant. It took time for me to grow on Matt Eberflus. He definitely grew on me a little bit. Because I was hoping that the Chicago Bears would pick up maybe an offensive-minded head coach. But the first thing that Matt Eberflus did was got an offensive coordinator from Green Bay and Luke Getsy, and made sure the offense was the perfect offense for Justin Fields. So us as Bears fans, we have to respect Matt Eberflus for doing that. He could have easily came into Chicago and said, you know what, I'm a defensive guy. I can care less about what happens to Justin Fields. But obviously, for someone to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears, they had to understand that Justin Fields was our franchise guy, and they need to do everything in their possible to make sure that Justin Fields developed the right way. And even though Matt Eberflus is a defensive head coach, he's not an expert in the quarterback position. He understood that it's on him as well, as much as Luke Getsy, to develop Justin Fields. And just by him making that slight move and bringing in an offensive coordinator with the offense that fits Justin Fields, that is amazing. That's a lot of kudos to Matt Eberflus. So because of Eberflus's clear plan to the Chicago Bears, Fields, to me, is finally pointing in the right direction. Obviously, we can go back to last year with Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. There was really no clear plan with what they wanted to do with Justin Fields. Obviously, Matt Nagy's system just didn't work. He expected the players to conform to his system. He didn't conform to his players, which I think was the problem. And that's why I have so much confidence in this Chicago Bears offense this year, is because now we finally have a coaching staff that is conforming to our player strengths, right? And that is really good news. So it's really nice to see that Eberflus came in with a clear plan, not only for the Chicago Bears as a whole, but for Justin Fields as well. So overall, Eberflus has demonstrated a clear understanding of his job. And yes, he comes from a defensive background. I can repeat that until I'm blue in the face. But the head coach's responsibility, and I think this is what Matt Nagy as a head coach really struggled with. A head coach's responsibility is to oversee all phases of the team. Yes, he's a defensive guy, but he needs to make sure he is making sure the offensive line is good, the quarterback room is good, making sure the defensive line is good, the safety room is good. His job is all the phases of the football team, offense and defense. And from multiple reports, and obviously you see in the 1920 football drive that they post on YouTube every month, Matt Eberflus is very active in the quarterbacks meetings, and he is very attentive. Obviously, I mentioned in a couple of podcasts ago that Justin Fields says that Matt Eberflus is always in the quarterback meetings, and he really appreciates that. So even though, once again, Matt Eberflus is a defensive guy, he understands that his job as a head coach is that his responsibility is to make sure all phases are doing well, and Matt Eberflus has definitely shown that. So with Eberflus running the show, I feel very confident in the direction of the Chicago Bears, and this podcast was basically just to give Matt Eberflus just some kudos, a job well done. And once again, I know that the Chicago Bears have yet to play a game, but I truly feel in my hearts of hearts that this Chicago Bears football team will be ready to play just because of the new culture Matt Eberflus is bringing to Chicago. Before I let you guys go, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want to ask you guys this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in Matt Eberflus as the head coach of the Chicago Bears? Let me know down below in the comment section. Before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic.